British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good morning. This is Tyler Bereskin, and these are your news headlines for 10:30. Starting locally, the BC Nurses Union has voted largely in favor of a strike. The vote, which took place over the last 4 days, was put in motion in response to nurses' wages and workplace conditions. Over 50,000 nurses voted in favor of the strike. Langley is receiving more affordable housing for independent living seniors. The BC Housing Ministry is putting a new 8-story building in place that will include over 100 homes. Bathrooms, gardens, patios, and a lounge will all be features of the new building. The building will also be close by essential services and downtown attractions in Langley. The first phase of the new Oak Ridge Park Mall will open on May 28th. The mall, located on 41st Avenue and Cambie Street, will eventually feature over 3,000 housing units. Over 1,000 of these units will open with the first phase of the mall in 2 weeks. The rest of the mall is expected to be completed by 2029. We now welcome in Megan Unicat to highlight what the BCIT newsroom is chasing today.
Thanks, Tyler. We've got some exciting events happening here at our Burnaby campus, including a pop-up mammal zoo happening tomorrow, and students can also look forward to using the rec center this summer. We also have a long-form interview called For the Record, featuring a Vancouver musician, illustrator, and author who goes by the name Coco Bean. Back to you, Tyler.
Thanks, Megan. Heading into national news, water levels in central Saskatchewan are expected to be higher than normal over the coming days. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says 18 communities are under local states of emergency because of flooding. The province's Water Security Agency says Rapid Spring snowmelt is to blame for the record-high flows in central Saskatchewan. A spokesperson for the Highways Ministry says fast-moving water has damaged infrastructure, adding it's too early to determine the overall extent or the potential repair costs. In international news, the US-based educational website called Canvas was recently hacked. However, as Mike Hempen reports, Canvas has reached a deal with the hackers.
Data stolen from an education platform is deleted in a deal with hackers. The company that operates the online learning system Canvas says it has reached a deal with hackers to delete the data they stole in a cyber attack last week that created chaos for many students. Instructure, the parent company of Canvas, hasn't provided any details of the deal, including whether a payment was involved. A hacking group named Shiny Hunters claimed responsibility for the breach. The data has been returned to Instructure, but the company says there is no way to know whether the data was erased for good. I'm Mike Hempen.
Prosecutors have filed criminal charges against the operator of the ship that crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, leading to the deaths of 6 construction workers in March 2024. A key employee is also charged. Federal prosecutors announced the indictment Tuesday, naming Synergy Marine, based in Singapore and India. FBI investigations focused on the vessel's operations and whether the crew knew of critical issues before leaving port. Maryland officials estimate it will cost between $4.3 billion and $5.2 billion to replace the bridge. A new bridge is expected to open to traffic in 2030. The MV Honduras cruise ship, which recently suffered the hantavirus outbreak, is on its way towards being disinfected. The ship is expected to sail to the Netherlands, where it will receive extensive cleaning. All the passengers and crew have been escorted off the ship. The 2026 Cannes Film Festival in France begins today. Multiple brand new films will make their global premieres throughout the next week and a half. Moving into weather, today will be a cloudy day with a high of 16. I'm Tyler Bereskin, and this is BCIT News, The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hi, it's Trevor Weinbrenner, and this is your sports news for 1040. An update on the PWHL. Game 5 of the semifinals for the PWHL playoffs has been rescheduled between the Montreal Victoire and the Minnesota Frost. The game last night was canceled due to many players coming down with illness. The game is rescheduled for tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's the last game of the series. Now on to the NHL playoffs. The Colorado Avalanche take a huge Game 4 from the Minnesota Wild, going up 3-1. Mackenzie Blackwood backstops the Avalanche to the win, saving 19 of 21 shots. Goals from Avalanche players Brock Nelson, Ross Colton, Parker Kelly, Nazem Kadri, and Nathan McKinnon. With this win, it pushes the Minnesota Wild to the brink of elimination. They still have no Western Conference Finals berth in franchise history. Former Vancouver Canucks defenseman with a nifty pass for an assist last night. Parker Kelly speaks on how the team prepares for anything.
I think just being ready to go. I think you never know when your opportunity is going to come, and Ross has been playing great. Our bottom line's been playing great. Everyone's just been trying to do the right thing, and you just got to stay ready. It's one shot. It's one play you got to bear down on. That's probably going to come your way. So it's just about staying ready, and all these guys in here are ready. So it was a great goal by Ross to get us up, and then Blackie shut it down for us. So it was a great game overall.
The Oklahoma City Thunder advanced to their second straight Western Conference final after beating the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 4, 115-110. Canadian-born Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leads the way for the Thunder, averaging 28.3 points per game in the playoffs, including a 35-point night from him last night. The Thunder also remain undefeated in the playoffs. 41-year-old LeBron James exits his 23rd season after a great playoff performance, averaging 23 points in the playoff run. The Lakers were still without star point guard Luka Doncic. LeBron James speaks on his future in the NBA after his 23rd season concluded following the loss to the Thunder.
Well, I think you guys asked me about it, and I've answered questions. Yeah, I don't think I've come out and like, oh, retirement is coming. With my future, I don't know, obviously. This is obviously we're still fresh from, obviously losing, and I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for me, obviously, as it stands right now tonight. I got a lot of time. I'll sit back, like I think I said it last year after we lost, I think, to Minnesota, to go back and recalibrate with my family and talk with them. And
the Cleveland Cavaliers won a pivotal Game 4 against the Detroit Pistons, tying the series at 2 games apiece, heading back to Detroit for Game 5. This is a momentum-swinging win for the Cavaliers after losing both on the road as they head back to Detroit. Donovan Mitchell had an incredible game with 43 points. Harden had 24 points. Both of them combined for 67 points. The Cavaliers held star point guard Cade Cunningham of the Pistons to only 19 points. Karis LeVert explains what the Pistons need to do better in Game 5 to stop Donovan Mitchell.
Third quarter, I think, defensively we let Mitchell off the hook a little bit, let him get to his right hand a little too much. And offensively, we just got to move the ball a little bit better, get into our sets a little bit quicker. They did a good job of picking Deuce up full court, kind of slowing our offense down. We just got to be better combating that.
The Toronto Blue Jays lose their 4th straight game against the Tampa Bay Rays, falling 8-5. The Blue Jays went down 5-0 early in the second inning, but responded quickly with a 3-run homer, also in the second inning. But the Rays score more, going up 8-3. The Jays tacked on 2 more in the bottom of the 7th inning, but it wasn't enough. Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Kevin Gausman only went 4 innings, but it was still a historical night, getting him to 2,000 career strikeouts. Kevin Gausman entered the game with being 3 strikeouts away from 2,000. He explains what it means in his career.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
I'm Trevor Weinberger. Thanks for listening to BCIT The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Hundreds of wild birds call OWL, Orphaned Wildlife Rehabilitation Society, home. Some are put back into the wild, while others are kept due to injuries. BCIT's Blake Grantham is at the sanctuary with Julia Batty, one of the volunteers, to tell the story of these birds.
OWL has over 100 volunteers who help pick up injured and orphaned birds scattered across the province, while still having 5 to 7 volunteers helping daily at the sanctuary. Their frontline education birds, permanently housed in Delta, are all too injured to return to living in the wild, most of them being there due to injured wings, leaving them non-flighted.
We have a volunteer network all across the province. Some areas we have like some gaps, but in a lot of places we do have volunteers that live there. So what will happen is someone will find an injured bird out in the wild and they'll give us a call, and then we will contact the volunteer that we have that's closest to that area and send the volunteer out there to meet that person and help contain the bird and get it down to us. So all the birds on this tour path are non-releasable. They all have injuries. Most of them have injuries that prevent them from surviving out in the wild. Some of them have, a big story you'll hear with a lot of them is injured wing that just didn't heal well enough for them to be able to fly properly, to be able to be released back to the wild.
Tara, a volunteer at OWL, shared a story of community with us on our visit.
I guess it was a week and a half ago someone had called in an injured eagle that couldn't fly. I go there and there's 5 fellows and they had seen this eagle on the fence and they went through a slit in the fence and followed it, and it got trapped in some blackberry bushes, but it couldn't fly. He shows me where it is and there's the 5 of them around and I'm like, oh, that's really far in there. I said, I wish I had an axe or something to cut the brambles. So they pull out their kirpins and start chopping the brambles. And then they took off a jacket to help me cover the eagle's head so that I could get him and pull him out. And as I'm pulling him out, they videoed the whole thing, and so you could see, put it over her hair because I'm getting stuck in the brambles, right? So they were very, very kind. And then once they got it out, they wanted a selfie. So we took a selfie of the 5 of them and me with the eagle. So that eagle had a very badly broken humerus and had surgery last week. So we're hoping
this was recent.
Yeah. So it was just so many people working to help the bird. It was probably pretty cool. It was neat to see so many people working to help, and they were so gracious in their willingness to help me.
Care manager of OWL, Rob Hope, shared where the birds that they treat come from and what the main species of birds they house are.
We get them from all over the province, so we get them, most of ours actually come from the outskirts, not necessarily in the lower mainland. We get a fair amount from the Fraser Valley as well as other parts of the province, especially north. It varies from year to year to year, but our 2 major species are bald eagle and a barred owl. We see anywhere between 150 200 of those species every year.
In here, our first one, we've got Big Daddy and Abby, or bald eagles. Big Daddy was named that because he was a foster parent for rescued baby eagles for a really long time. He's kind of retired from that by now, but Abby still is a good foster mom. Daddy actually does have a partially amputated wing as well. So in here we have our northern goshawks, Horace and Pharaoh. Pharaoh's up on the perch there on the left, and then Horace, I can see him over here on the ladder on the right. Horace, his wing is quite severe. It was quite severely injured. It was partially paralyzed, so he can't extend it fully anymore, so he can't fly at all. Pharaoh is definitely more flighted, more so than Horace is, but goshawks, because they live in forests, they really need to be very agile to be able to fly fast in between trees.
Taking in as many birds as possible is OWL's goal, but their rehabilitation is sometimes out of their control.
We will always make room for a bird. We'll never turn a bird away. If we have to turn our office ladies into a little corner and fill it full of birds, we'll do it. We'll never turn one away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how many are you housing right around now?
You can see behind you right now, we got about 44 permanents and probably about I don't know, 70 rehab, and we're going to be banding probably 35 of them next week. So if you factor everything in, like birds that come in dead, birds that we know aren't going to make it, that have to be destroyed and that type of stuff, we're looking around 30-35%. But if you take those ones that are dead, DOA, the ones that are going to die, then we're around 70-75%.
There are certain birds that make better candidates for educational birds than others. So for the birds that are trained to sit on the glove, that's the hardest one to train because they're, they come from the wild. They're not very comfortable at first being that close to a human.
Blinky was a great horned owl that was a part of their frontline birds, the longest of any. His passing left visible changes within his roommate Casper's behavior.
Casper, she's kind of, again, it's hard to see because it's kind of dark here, but she's on the beam, kind of towards the back on the right there. So Casper is a great horned owl, and she is used for fostering. She's a great foster mom for great horned owls, and she loves baby owls. She hates humans. You have to wear a hard hat when you go in there to give her food because she is very known for swooping at you and trying to get you in the head. So yeah, she's very feisty, doesn't like humans, but yeah, she's a great owl mom. They're, from what I've been told, certain, it's in their instinct to, if there's something wrong with a baby, to not want to take care of them. So like, well, you're not going to survive anyway. I'm not going to put my effort into taking care of you. But Casper will take care of any baby owl that she is given. Blinky, he was our oldest permanent resident. He was 42, I think. But yeah, he passed away earlier, like 3 or 4 months ago, I think. But he was our oldest permanent resident. He came in originally with a wing injury, but he was so old that he ended up going completely blind. And Casper, being the lovely owl that she is, she used to feed him his food because he couldn't find it himself, which was very nice of her. I noticed some things that changed when Blinky was gone because I used to go in there and help Blinky find his food as well. And she would never. It was very interesting. She would never fly at me when I was going in to feed Blinky, but now that Blinky's not here, she flies at me almost every time I go in there. Yeah, so peregrine falcons, in here we've got Laverne and Squiggy. Squiggy came in 2022, again with wing injuries that just didn't heal well enough for them to be able to survive, and I think I was mentioning before that falcons are a very agile species. They're ones that kind of need to have full mobility and everything to be able to hunt properly. Peregrine falcons are the fastest ever recorded animal on the planet. The fastest one was recorded going over 300 kilometers per hour in a dive, so pretty impressive, and they do need to have control over themselves when they're moving at those speeds. So yeah, it's definitely one that kind of needs to be in really good condition when they're released.
Well, we're here to help the birds, and if we can help in any way, whether it's putting them back in a nest. Last year we had, in Prince George, we had 2 sets of merlins. There was 6 merlins by somebody's shed. Okay, we'll get a basket hanging in the tree. The parents are still around. So they go in, they empty out their flowers in their nice little wicker basket, put the babies in there, throw a rope in the tree, pull it up, mom's feeding them within an hour. Fledge those birds, right? So there's little things like that we try and help. Obviously, we want them to stay out there and live out there, but there's times where we have to intervene. And like I said, we're not adding to the population, we're just trying to help them out with human cause factors, that's all.
I'm Blake Grantham, along with Chloe Lawler and Noah Horn for BCIT's The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning, I'm Zach Byard, and here are the latest headlines at 11. A new hantavirus case has been reported in a passenger of the MV Hondias cruise ship. The Spanish passenger was in quarantine in a military hospital when they tested positive. This now brings the total reported hantavirus cases to 11. Of the 11 cases, only 9 have been confirmed. The Director General of the World Health Organization said today that they learned from the COVID-19 pandemic in dealing with the outbreak.
There should be a constant learning, and change should be a constant, improvement should be a constant, and I know countries see it that way. And that's why, by the way, based on COVID lessons, we're trying to improve the system. Several initiatives that we have started, including the pandemic agreement, by the way. But there are many other initiatives based on COVID lessons.
He added that the outbreak has not spread beyond passengers and crew of the cruise ship. The long-awaited Oak Ridge Park Mall is opening in 2 weeks. The 28-acre mall on the southwest corner of Canby and 49th Avenue has been under construction since 2018 for redevelopment. With its opening, it will boast 500,000 square feet of leasable retail space, a rooftop public park, and some of the tallest towers in all of British Columbia. 2,000 free parking stalls will be available for drivers. The mall is also served by the Oak Ridge 41st Canada Line station and the R4 Rapid Bus. A ribbon-cutting ceremony will inaugurate the mall. It is set to open at 11 a.m. on May 28th. And now a moment for my producer, Luca Naim Avila Sobodianic, to preview the stories our reporters are chasing.
Thank you, Zach. Today we have some interesting stories from our reporters. Stay tuned to learn more about how BC provincial parks are seeing an increase in reservations compared to last year. And also, tune in to know about the fire restrictions implemented much earlier this year. And featuring our special long-format section For the Record, our reporter Darius Fuladi will walk us along his exclusive interview with Nina Jobs-Smith, a player in the Golden Eyes. Back to you, Zach.
Thank you, Luca. Exam week is here and BCIT students are stressed out. Thankfully, small animals are coming to help students unwind tomorrow. Our reporter June Bravo shares how the BCIT Student Association plans to help with student wellness during exams.
The BCIT Student Association are having little critters over to help students de-stress during one of the most stressful weeks of the year. This event is happening at SC2, where they will have arts and crafts, food, and board games alongside with the animals from the BC Wildlife Rescue. The Student Association says that people should use this time to recharge to get the boost that they need for their exams. June Bravo, BCIT News.
Tomorrow's event is set to feature chinchillas. The company behind the learning software Canvas has made an agreement with hackers that stole personal student data. AP correspondent Mike Hempin explains.
Data stolen from an education platform is deleted in a deal with hackers. The company that operates the online learning system Canvas says it has reached a deal with hackers to delete the data they stole in the cyber attack last week that created chaos for many students. Instructure, the parent company of Canvas, hasn't provided any details of the deal, including whether a payment was involved. A hacking group named Shiny Hunters claimed responsibility for the breach. The data has been returned to Instructure, but the company says there is no way to know whether the data was erased for good. I'm Mike Hempin.
Canvas is used both by SFU and UBC. The two universities have since shut down access to the service while they assess safety. In national news, 100 families in northwestern Alberta have been evacuating ahead of a wildfire. Residents of Woodlands County, 180 kilometers northwest of Edmonton, were issued the evacuation order Monday afternoon. The wildfire is said to be shrinking, according to Woodlands County Councilor Reeve Dave Cush. Firefighters are actively taking the blaze. I'm Zach Byard. You're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning, BCIT The Crow listeners. My name is Dena Tingala, and the time is now 11:10. For the next 5 minutes, I'll be updating you on all things sports. Starting with hockey, the Montreal Victoire and Minnesota Frost will try again tonight. The winner-take-all Game 5 was postponed yesterday due to safety concerns related to an unspecified illness on the Montreal side. Health professionals say the symptoms were not consistent with the hantavirus. The Victoire are looking to dethrone Minnesota's defending title as two-time Walter Cup champions, as the Frost won the only two previous PWHL seasons. In the NHL, the Colorado Avalanche took the win last night 5-2 against the Minnesota Wild and increased their series lead 3-1. But every action has an equal opposite reaction as Av star Nathan MacKinnon skated off with a bloody nose after being struck by a puck in the second period. He went down the tunnel but shortly returned for the third and even scored an empty net goal in Colorado's huge win. The Montreal Canadiens and Buffalo Sabres go head-to-head tonight for a Game 4 at the Bell Centre. Montreal has won 2 straight in the series, and now we're seeing some lineup changes from the Sabres. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who has not started since Game 2 of the first round, is starting in goal tonight, and he says he is trusting his game.
Stick into what you know works, and just work in those details, kind of getting comfortable with your game, trusting your own game, trusting your own stuff. There's no need to change anything at this point of the year, so just finding the confidence and being comfortable with your own game.
The Vegas Golden Knights and the Anaheim Ducks are tied in the series 2-2, and they are facing off tonight in Sin City. Anaheim picked up a crucial 4-3 victory on home ice Sunday to even the series. Vegas winger Mitch Marner currently leads the postseason in scoring with 16 points in 10 games. Kyle Dubas shared exciting news today in his end-of-season presser for the Pittsburgh Penguins fans that are listening. The general manager for the Penguins shared that they would love to have Evgeny Malkin back next season.
Yeah, we've had, obviously I had a great exit interview with Evgeny directly, and then subsequently you've had continued discussions with his representative, J.P. Barry, and the season that he's had, where we're at, where we're going. I don't look at our younger players. I think they did enough to have it viewed like he's blocking anybody out in that regard. So we would love to have him back. We just continue to work with JP on it. So I guess that's as clear as I can be. Yeah.
The NHL announced today their finalists for the 25-26 Jim Gregory Award. This awards the top general managers for the season. Bill Guerin of the Minnesota Wild, Chris McFarland of the Colorado Avalanche, and Pat Verbeek of the Anaheim Ducks are those nominated. All 3 finalists are first-time nominees for the award after helping their teams reach the second round of the playoffs. We have a couple roster updates for Team Canada in the double IHF Men's Championships. In the Philadelphia Flyers end-of-season press conference today, Ontario native Porter Martone says he is not taking a break after being eliminated in the playoffs. The 19-year-old is joining Team Canada, and Dawson Mercer from the New Jersey Devils is also joining the roster. The LA Lakers were eliminated from the playoffs yesterday to the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that was not the only thing ending last night. It also marked the end of LeBron James's 23rd season. The oldest active player in the NBA says he does not know what his future holds.
Nobody has any idea what the future holds, and I don't either. Like I said, I'll take time to recalibrate and look over the season and see what's best for my future. And when I get to that point, everyone will know.
The Toronto Blue Jays fell to the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday 8-5, adding to their now growing losing streak. Though a tough loss, Kevin Gausman earns his 2,000th career strikeout Monday night and says he's honored to reach the pitching milestone.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
The National Lacrosse League announced today that Keegan Ball has been named Offensive Player of the Year. This marks the first time Ball has been honored with his title and the first time in franchise history that a member of the... That's all the sports headlines from me. This has been Dena Tingala for BCIT's The Crow.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Vancouver has long carried the label, No Fun City, a reputation tied to rising cost, strict regulations, and the loss of creative spaces. Now, the shutdown of a DIY venue in the city is raising new questions about whether there is still room for underground art and music to exist. Lorema Samba reports. Inside a small venue on Kingsway, instruments are being tuned and microphones tested. It's soundcheck at Take Your Time, a DIY space that has served as a home for Vancouver's underground music scene, now shut down by the city. At the center of it is Luis Gonzalez, co-founder of the venue.
What it means to me, I really like to focus on the word liberation, even though, I don't claim to be much of an actual activist. I came to, the quote-unquote practice of liberation through art and spirituality, right? So the priority is to have a space where you can fully exist, unencumbered and uncontrolled. And then later came the political analysis and societal analysis of what is it that restricts that type of space from existing. But once you make it through the door, the hope is that it's very simple. It's just about a place where you can be free, for free, and do whatever you want. That's the goal. Yeah, to make people feel empowered to do whatever they want.
But the space wasn't built alone. Ann Young, Lee's partner and co-founder, also played a major role in shaping what Take Your Time became. Deeply invested in its vision and community, she helped bring the space to life.
I started out as a designer. I work in tech. And I got to a point where I was doing this with him while also having a full-time job in tech. And I just grew to love the space so much that I just quit my full-time job and focus on this completely up until this point. And I think what I really love about it is the community that we bring together.
I think most tangibly and most noticeably will be the fact that, we always took pride in being a lot of people's first show, and if somebody had never played a show before, for us, that was more of a reason to invite them, as opposed to, more commercial enterprises or even more like craft and product-based enterprises where you got to prove that you're good at music or you got to prove that you get a good draw, right? So people would come to us to start, and then they'd take what they have here and prove to others, hey, we've performed before, and we have here's a video, or here's how many people came out and stuff. So most tangibly and obviously, it'll be a loss for new musicians in the city. But I think it'll also be a less noticeable loss for a lot of individuals, a lot of volunteers that have found a home here, people who come here regularly because they don't have anywhere else to go or because they can't afford to be at any other place on a Friday night and still feel like they're included and a part of everything. A lot of people who I personally know that benefited from the space, I'm going to continue to try and help them in that same way. But I do wonder how many people never talk to me, but were able to come here and feel good and free, and it'll be a loss for them.
The closure was not unexpected. Luis Gonzalez says the challenge had been building for some time.
Well, people are always really upset about things shutting down. The truth is, if the city comes to us and says you don't have a business license and this is a fire hazard, I'm not going to be like, hey, you're wrong. A law don't apply for whatever reason. It's just the real problem with the city is that they make it so difficult to do legitimately that projects like this are pushed into these precarious situations. So to speak for myself, what I wanted to achieve, I think, is visible now in what we have achieved. But at the time, I thought this is only possible if we do it our way. And our way is unfortunately, not in collaboration with the city. We thought they knew about us. They probably did know about us and let us exist for quite a while. I don't know what changed their minds, but I'm not mad about the shutdown because you can't be mad at, consequences you can see coming. My anger is the same anger I've always had that led me to do things in this way to begin with. It's more pointed at like capitalism and the economic forces that make a culture basically impossible. Yeah, we knew the reasons we were going to shut down when we opened, but we took on that risk because there's no other way of doing it in the city, and that's the problem.
And as one of its final shows begins, the space fills with the people who gave it meaning. The artists. For many of them, Take Your Time was more than just a venue. Here's what some performers had to say.
My name is Hallelujah. I've been writing music since I was 14, but I started performing in Vancouver in 2021.
Because Vancouverites are some of the most negative. Nancy's, you all with your dyed hair, complaining about how expensive it is to live here. You should take what you have and be grateful. What do you mean you want to be able to afford to eat? What do you mean you want to go see the art? Go sit in your office or struggle to find a job because that's also just as hard. Be happy with what you have, I guess. Because that's why I left. Because I'm tired of all the negative Nancy ways, but dare I say, I love how evil everybody in Vancouver is. The negative energy is why I'm here. All you awful people, I wrote the song about you, and I'm happy to be one of you. It's one called Don't get that monologue. Spent too long on the expo line.
It's incredibly hard as an artist to be able to perform and not put yourself into debt. If I wanted to book another venue in town for a gig that has around the same level of sound support, I'd be looking at like somewhere between $700, like $1,000, like in a deposit. And this space is a room that is pretty well known, sounds good, and has a pretty built-in community, and that's really hard to find. Losing a space like this means less small, weird, quirky bands, less baby bands just playing their first couple of shows. It is a tragedy, I think, that we lose these small spaces, because when I first started playing music, these were the kind of rooms that I could afford to book and that I could pack out. I'm just worried that there's going to be a lot of young artists who won't be able to break their first show if rooms like this stop existing. I know, like, the biggest problem for setting up small venues like this is it's incredibly hard to turn a profit and do it completely above board. The city doesn't necessarily do enough, I think, in terms of arts grants or making it easy for somebody who does want to do everything completely legally above board to do so and not put themselves in extreme debt. I also think that the city's current mayor made a pretty big statement on trying to make Vancouver not no fun city, as well as cutting arts funding. Car Free Day was canceled and then uncanceled. Dragon Boat Festival isn't happening this year because of FIFA. And if you look at the bill of the FIFA fan festival, most of the large top bill artists aren't from Vancouver, and a lot of them aren't Canadian. And I think it's not necessarily in our best interest to have such a huge opportunity to showcase artists from here and not like use that platform. I think it's wasteful. Cities like Montreal and Toronto do so well showcasing their artists because they're proud of the artists they have. It seems that Vancouver is sometimes embarrassed to be itself, and I think it's amazing here.
Now, with Take Your Time shut down, what remains is not just a memory of space, but the impact it had on the people who built it, performed in it, and found a place within.
I think people remember that it's just a room and that it was empty at some point, and what made it what it was everybody that showed up. We can still come together, you know? I hope people remember that it's the people that made it special to begin with.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning, I'm Izzy Morgan, and these are your 11:30 news headlines. The British Columbia Nurses Union has voted 98.2% in favor of strike action. More than 50,000 of the approximate 55,000 union members voted after talks reached an impasse in April over issues including benefits, pay, and staffing shortages. Union President Adrian Gear says the vote doesn't mean nurses are going on strike tomorrow, but demonstrates that they are united more than ever and prepared to do what it takes to get a fair contract. Gear says nurses are ready to fight for an agreement that values and respects them and strengthens public health care. The union has said an increasing burden is coming on its nurses with about 4,500 vacant positions that cannot be filled. About 100 families have left their homes in a north-central Alberta county due to a wildfire. Reeve Dave Couche says an evacuation order was issued Monday afternoon for residents of Woodlands County, 180 kilometers northwest of Edmonton. Couche says the wildfire is burning southeast of the town of Whitecourt. He says it appears that the wildfire has shrunk since Monday, but it's unclear whether it's damaged any homes. Residents were asked to gather pets, documents, and medication and report to a local community center. Couche says firefighters from multiple communities are tackling the blaze. BCIT producer Andrew Chen is here to give us a look at what's happening in the newsroom today.
Thank you, Izzy. Later in the day, listeners can expect to hear stories featuring local community ripple effects following a recent gang-related shooting, as well as a follow-up with the new provincial investments to our forestry industry announced yesterday. Also, stay tuned, because our reporter Abigail Salisbury is doing a longer feature piece on our For the Record on the future of the Whitecaps. Back to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Reservations at provincial parks for the May long weekend have increased this year due to fewer Canadians choosing the U.S. as a vacation destination. BCIT's Chloe Lawler has more.
The May long weekend is approaching, and fewer Canadians are traveling to the States. This is causing a surge in reservations at BC provincial parks. Cultus Lake and Golden Ears Park are just a couple of parks that are expected to be extremely popular next weekend. One of the main concerns due to the surge, especially in Maple Ridge, is the traffic, as there is only one road to and from Golden Ears Park. This may cause cars to be backed up and for parking to be an issue. Chloe Lawler, BCIT News.
U.S. hotels say the promised economic boom from the World Cup hasn't materialized yet for them. The American Hotel and Lodging Association recently released a report that found room bookings are lighter than expected in most of the 11 U.S. host cities. Nearly 80% of the hotels that responded from the report say that the pace of booking was tracking behind a typical summer. In Vancouver, however, soccer fans are finding limited options for hotels and rental rooms during the big event. Rappers 50 Cent and Nelly, along with the Chainsmokers, headline a new World Cup concert series by Sports Illustrated. SI Beyond the Pitch will bring concerts and VIP experiences to Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, and New York during the global soccer tournament. The series kicks off June 12th in Los Angeles with Nelly and wraps up in New York July 18th with 50 Cent and Diplo. Vancouver will also be seeing some big names this summer with performances by Bruno Mars, Noah Kahan, and 5 Seconds of Summer. U.S. coffee house chain Dunkin' Donuts is returning to Canada through a new franchise deal with restaurant operator Foodtastic. Foodtastic says it plans to open hundreds of Dunkin' Donuts locations across the country, with the first expected in late 2026 or early 2027. Today it will be mainly sunny with a high of 20, and it will dip down to a low of 12 tonight. Tomorrow it will be cloudy with a high of 18 and a chance of some showers in the morning. That's your news to 11:35. I'm Izzy Morgan, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning. I'm Noah Peckham, and here are your sports headlines. In the NHL playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche suppressed the Minnesota Wild's dynamic offense in a 5-2 win. The Avalanche now have a stranglehold 3-1 lead over the Wild. The Avalanche were able to hold the Wild to just 12 shots in the first two periods and only 21 total in the game, well below the Wild's average of 30 shots these playoffs. Colorado head coach Jared Bednar spoke about his team's attention to detail.
Yeah, I thought we did a nice job. You knew there was going to be a push at some point, but even through that, I liked our attention to detail. Like for me, the biggest change from last game to this game is like we were a more determined group. That's to a man, just more determined and committed to playing the right way. But it wasn't like I didn't hate our details last game. There were some things I didn't love, but I thought that we got out-competed in that game a little bit. And tonight we kind of swung it back in our favor and guys went to work.
Bill Guerin of the Minnesota Wild, Chris McFarland of the Colorado Avalanche, and Pat Verbeek of the Anaheim Ducks are the finalists for the 2026 Jim Gregory General Manager of the Year award, the NHL announced Tuesday. Guerin acquired Quinn Hughes from Vancouver in a December trade, and the 2024 Norris Trophy winner set franchise records for assists and points by a defenseman. McFarland guided the Avalanche to a franchise record 121 points and the President's Trophy as the top regular season team. Verbeek led the Ducks to their first playoff appearance since 2017-2018 with a franchise record 265 goals scored. All three finalists are first-time nominees for the award, helping their teams reach the second round of the playoffs. In the NBA, Memphis Grizzlies forward Brendan Clark passed away yesterday at the age of 29, the team announced Tuesday afternoon. Clark, a native of Vancouver, spent 7 years in the NBA, all with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Lakers were eliminated from playoffs Monday night thanks to a 4-0 series loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was also the end of LeBron James' 23rd season in the league. He's the oldest active player in the NBA at 41 years old and talked about his next move after the loss.
Well, I think you guys asked me about it, and I've answered questions. Yeah, I don't think I've come out like, oh, retirement is coming. So, with my future, I don't know, obviously. This is, obviously, we're still fresh from, obviously losing, and I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for me, obviously.
U.S. hotels say promised economic boom from the World Cup hasn't materialized yet for them. The American Hotel and Lodging Association recently released a report that found room bookings are lighter than expected in most of the 11 U.S. host cities, with roughly a month to go before the start of the most-watched sports tournament in the world. The group survey found that in Boston, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Seattle, nearly 80% of hotels responding reported the pace of bookings was tracking behind a typical summer. Experts say the weaker-than-expected demand shouldn't have come as a surprise to hotel operators. Barcelona star Lamine Yamal waved a Palestinian flag during an open-top bus parade as the team celebrated winning the Spanish title. The 18-year-old winger, who is widely regarded as one of the best soccer players in the world, held the flag as the team bus drove through the streets of Barcelona on Monday. He also posted pictures of him holding it on his Instagram account. His coach, Hansi Flick, was questioned Tuesday about Yamal's decision.
This I normally don't like. This is don't like. I spoke with him and I said to him if he wants this is his decision. He's old enough. He's 18 years old. I think we are playing football. And you can see what the people expect from us.
Back to hockey. Team Canada's men's hockey team is adding Parter Martone and Dawson Mercer to their roster for the upcoming Men's World Hockey Championship. Canada begins the tournament on May 15th against Sweden. That's all for now. I'm Noah Peckham for BCIT's The Crow. Thanks for listening.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
They're the animals most shelters can't take in: older, ill, or living with disabilities. At Saints Animal Society, they're given a permanent home. Located in British Columbia, Saints is a sanctuary for society's most vulnerable animals. those unlikely to be adopted, but still in need of care, comfort, and dignity. Megan Unadkat went to meet the animals at their property. This is where their stories continue.
Saints started in 2004 and has continued to welcome any animal in need to this day. Aaron Bain is taking us on a walk through their property where we met a number of characters.
So we're going to start at Wren's place. And so we called it Wren's place because we had a bunny named Wren who actually passed away.
Our first visit of the day was with a special rooster named Twirly.
Twirly is fully blind, but he's also got some neurological issues there. So he's actually quite got brain damage. Yeah, so he's very sweet, but he has some questionable behaviors.
Twirly's neurological issues resulted in a constant pattern of twirling in circles.
He came from a hobby farm, and so he was actually hatched. Like, the woman saw him hatch. And anytime you have to help somebody out of an egg, that's nature telling you there's something not quite right.
Although Twirly has neurological struggles, he is thriving at Saints, getting lots of cuddles and love from all the staff and volunteers. Before we met with more animals, we talked to Jen Castro, who started as a volunteer but now works as a vet tech at Saints.
I volunteered for a couple years, and I pretty much fell in love with how everything is set up. So it feels a little bit more homey than other rescues and stuff like that. So it feels like it's their home. And yeah, it's pretty much like how all of them have their different like characters and all that. So it's nice to experience, and working long hours, it makes you feel like they're yours.
So we'll head towards the barnyard. So this is Annabelle. So Anna is what's called a Pony of America. That's her breed. And she came to us because she was actually an owner surrender. And the woman reached out and said, you know, we have to sell our farm. We can't keep it. And we have 3 horses. One of them we can sell. One of them we're going to keep. And this one I think we're going to put down.
When Saints heard this, they immediately opened their doors to Annabelle and noticed that something wasn't quite right.
At the time, she had 2 eyes, but one of them had a disease called uveitis. And so uveitis is horrifically painful. And so what the vet had said was, look, you either need to remove that eye or you need to euthanize this horse, because that kind of pain you can't just live with. It's not something you can just, you know, take medication for. Like, it's severe pain.
Saints did what they could to make sure Annabelle was happy and healthy.
So we booked the enucleation, which is what they call it when you remove somebody's eye. So she was trailered to the vet where she had to have the surgery, stay the night, and then we trailered hers directly to us. Unfortunately, about 6 months later, the other eye developed uveitis, and so we had to do another surgery to get rid of that one. She does a lot of counting steps to know where she is. When we first got her, we had pool noodles on top of the temporary fencing because she would kind of get, but she was mapping. Yeah, because and she'll take the same amount of steps, right? And and then she's like, corner, step, right? She's very intelligent. Unfortunately, she does have lymphoma. She is palliative. We don't know how long she's got. We're trialing another new medication, but this is what we do.
The next animal we met was not brought in because of medical issues. She was brought in to be a companion for another animal.
We had this elderly cow, and the cow friend that she had, Chevy, was diagnosed with a disease that we knew was going to fail. And so, again, cows being furred animals need other cows, and so we had to get Emily a friend before we lost Chevy, her friend.
The shelter had to get creative with how they were going to get Emily a new friend. It was decided that they would reach out to a local auction.
And so what we ended up doing, because there aren't a lot of cows, you know, at the local animal control looking for a new home. So what Carol, who was the founder of Saints, what she said at the time was, she said, well, we don't want to actually go to the auction, but why don't we save somebody from the auction? So she phoned the auction and she said, look, I need the oldest cow that you've got, female cow, whatever doesn't sell today, just pick that one and bring it to us. So he shows up that night and he opens the trailer door and out walks a 6-month-old calf. So that was Jolene.
Saints is a sanctuary dedicated to animals who are often overlooked. From those with complex medical needs to those simply in need of companionship, each animal here is given a chance to live out their life with dignity, care, and love. In Maple Ridge, for BCIT's The Crow, I'm Megan Unadcat with co-producer Samantha Gibbs.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. This is Tyler Bereskin, and these are your news headlines for 12 o'clock. Starting locally, the BC Nurses Union have voted largely in favor of a strike. The vote, which took place over the last 4 days, was put in motion in response to nurses' wages and workplace conditions. The union says that this is the largest strike mandate ever from the union, with over 50,000 nurses voting in favor. BC is making some changes in its forestry industry. Yesterday, there was a press conference which included talks of new investments. Our reporter, Garrett Rosehill, has more.
Forestry Minister Ravi Parmar has announced that BC is investing more than $16 million into a new plan which includes trade deals in Japan, South Korea, and China, as well as building more at home using local wood. Parmar says that less Canadian lumber is being bought by Americans due to tariffs. He hopes to mitigate these issues by expanding trade into countries other than the United States. ForestNet magazine editor Paul McDonald says in the long run, this will benefit workers.
It will take time to develop these markets and diversify, the markets away from the United States, which is a great goal. So we're not as dependent on one market.
The government expects this plan to keep workers' careers afloat. Garrett Rosehill, BCIT News.
Moving into national news, the flooding continues in Saskatchewan due to melting snow. Saskatchewan has already broken flooding records, and the water levels look to continue increasing. Damage has occurred to multiple roads, according to the Highway Ministry, but the cost of the damage is too early to tell. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says nearly 20 communities across the province continue to be held in a state of emergency. In international news, the US-based educational website called Canvas was recently hacked. However, as Mike Hempen reports, Canvas has reached a deal with the hackers.
Data stolen from an education platform is deleted in a deal with hackers. The company that operates the online learning system Canvas says it has reached a deal with hackers to delete the data they stole in the cyber attack last week that created chaos for many students. Instructure, the parent company of Canvas, hasn't provided any details of the deal, including whether a payment was involved. A hacking group named Shiny Hunters claimed responsibility for the breach. The data has been returned to Instructure, but the company says there is no way to know whether the data was erased for good. I'm Mike Hempen.
Prosecutors have filed criminal charges against the operator of the ship that crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, leading to the deaths of 6 construction workers in March 2024. A key employee has also been charged. Federal prosecutors announced the indictment Tuesday, naming Synergy Marine, based in Singapore and India. FBI investigators focused on the vessel's operations and whether the crew knew of critical issues before leaving port. Maryland officials estimate it will cost between $4.3 billion and $5.2 billion to replace the bridge. A new bridge is expected to open to traffic in 2030. The 2026 Cannes New Film Festival in France begins today. Multiple brand new films will make their global premieres throughout the next week and a half. The best film, voted on by various film industry professionals, will receive the Palme d'Or Award. Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson will be in attendance and will receive an honorary Palme d'Or Award as well. Moving into the weather, today will be a cloudy day with a high of 16. Wind may play a factor throughout the day as well. This is Tyler Bereskin. Thank you for listening to BCIT's The Crow.
For more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hi, it's Trevor Weinbrenner, and this is your sports news for 12:10. The BCIT Recreation Services is going to offer some summer activities which have not taken place in the last summer. Our reporter, Ali Falla, has more on this.
For the first time ever, the BCIT Rec Center is providing students and the public with boxing classes during summer. The Recreation Services Assistant Arnold DaCosta says there are two reasons behind this decision. One is that all these classes were fully booked during the previous semester. The second reason is the opening of the new BCIT housing, Tall Timber, which has increased the number of students living on campus during this summer. Ali Falla, BCIT News.
Canadian-born and North Vancouver's own basketball player Brandon Clark tragically passed away at the age of 29. Brandon Clark died yesterday, but it was reported to the media today. Brandon Clark had played 6 seasons in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Colorado Avalanche take a huge Game 4 from the Minnesota Wild, going up 3-1. Mackenzie Blackwood backstops the Avalanche to the win, saving 19 of 21 shots. Goals from Avalanche players Brock Nelson, Ross Colton, Parker Kelly, Nazem Kadri, and Nathan McKinnon. With this win, it pushes the Wild to the brink of elimination, with still no Western Conference Finals berth in franchise history. Game 5 will take place in Colorado on Wednesday. Ross Colton, the goal scorer from the Avalanche, explains what his line does well and how it creates him chances to get goals like he did last night.
I feel like we kind of just preached that, like I said before, that was kind of our mindset going into the game. I feel like the last couple we've had too many one-and-dones, and I feel like him and I and, a lot of guys on this team, even Kelson, we have guys that are heavy. We can hold on to pucks down low. And
the Oklahoma City Thunder advanced to their second straight Western Conference Final after beating the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 4, 115-110. Canadian-born Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leads the way for the Thunder, averaging 28.3 points per game in the playoffs, including a 35-point night from him last night. The Thunder also remain undefeated in the playoffs. 41-year-old LeBron James exits his 23rd season after a great playoff performance, averaging 23 points in the playoff run. The Lakers were out without their star point guard, Luka Doncic. LeBron speaks on what his future in the NBA is after his 23rd season concluded following the loss to the Thunder.
Nobody has any idea what the future holds, and I don't either. Like I said, I'll take time to recalibrate and look over the season and see what's best for my future. And when I get to that point, everyone will know.
The Cleveland Cavaliers won a pivotal Game 4 against the Detroit Pistons, tying the series at 2 games apiece, heading to Detroit for Game 5. This is a momentum-swinging win for the Cavaliers after losing both on the road. Donovan Mitchell had an incredible game with 43 points. James Harden had 24 points, both combining for 67 points in the game. The Cavaliers held point guard Cade Cunningham of the Pistons to only 19 points. The Toronto Blue Jays lose their 4th straight game against the Tampa Bay Rays, falling 8-5. The Blue Jays went down 5-0 early in the second inning, but responded quickly with a 3-run homer also in the second inning. But the Rays score more, going up 8-3. The Jays tacked on 2 more runs in the bottom of the 7th. It wasn't enough. Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Kevin Gausman only went 4 innings, but it was still a historical night with him getting 2,000 career strikeouts. The Blue Jays play tonight against the Rays. They are on a 2-game losing streak and a 4-game losing streak against the Rays. The Blue Jays have Patrick Corbin on the mound as he tries to end the losing streak. Kevin Gausman has entered the game being 3 strikeouts away from 2,000 strikeouts. He explains what it took to get to this moment in his career.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
I'm Trevor Weinbrenner. Thank you for listening to BCIT The Crow.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Service dogs are more than just companions. For some people, they are the pillars of independence, born, raised, and trained to help many people navigate the world. As BCIT reporters, my partner Adam Wang and I spent a day at the Pacific Assistant Dog Society in Burnaby, British Columbia to see how these animals transform from just pets to life-saving experts and what they can do exactly. Reporter Wang gives you detailed answers to these questions.
For many people, daily tasks like opening a door or hearing an alarm require a little extra help. PADS has been closing that gap by pairing people with highly trained service dogs.
I'm Andrea Wright, the Chief Executive Officer at PADS, the Pacific Assistance Dog Society. For nearly 40 years, we have been changing lives one dog at a time. We breed, raise, and train service dogs for individuals that are experiencing physical disabilities, that are deaf or hard of hearing, that have a PTSD diagnosis and are first responders and veterans, as well as 2 other streams to support people in settings like schools and other judicial facilities, in the courthouse.
These dogs are specialists. They're supporting someone with a physical disability or a veteran with PTSD, providing a reliable partner for life. To understand the impact, you have to look at the 4 ways these dogs serves.
Hello, I'm Kayla. I work at PADS as a service dog trainer in the mobility program. This is Hara, a 2-year-old Labrador Golden Retriever cross. Hara is in training to be a mobility service dog, so she is learning how to push buttons to open doors, how to tug open the fridge, how to close the drawers, and retrieve items. We chose Hara because she's energetic, she loves her work, and she's a very resilient dog. Okay, Hara. Yes, good girl, thank you. So that's an overview of some of the skills that Hara has. She'll be in training for another 8 or 9 months as she continues her journey. A part of her training is going out in public and generalizing these skills to other environments. And while she's here, she has a sitter who brings her home on the weekend and takes her for just fun doggy decompression stuff. And yeah. Hara, behind. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sit. Good girl.
Kayla, the manager of our hearing and mobility programs here at PADS. And this is Cora, and she is currently in training to be a hearing dog. So as a hearing dog, Cora will be matched with somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing, and her job is to alert her handler to a variety of different sounds in their environment, such as someone knocking at the door, could be a kitchen timer, or a smoke alarm, and a variety of other additional sounds. For hearing dogs, they alert their handlers with their nose. They will nudge on their body to indicate that there's a sound. Another important thing for us is our dogs are all trained using positive reinforcement. So that can be good treats, verbal praise.
Yeah, good job, good job.
Cora, as a hearing dog, she gets a paycheck at the end of her work. So when she responds to a sound correctly, she gets paid maybe with a favorite toy or a favorite treat. What is it? Good girl. Bed. Oh, hi. Good girl.
You can't talk about PADS without talking about the people. Meredith, PADS Senior Manager of Marketing, has seen this journey firsthand.
Wait, back it up, baby. I started in 2011 as a puppy raiser. As a puppy raiser, my husband and I raised 9 dogs for PADS over the course of about 12 years. In 2022, I joined the staff, and my job is to tell the amazing stories of PADS. Hello, sweetheart.
Hello.
Come on in. This is PADS Poppy. She is training to be an accredited facility dog, or AFD. Hello, darling. Our accredited facility dogs work in a variety of different settings, from healthcare to education. We also have dogs that are placed in the justice departments in some of our local police jurisdictions, including in Calgary as well. The justice dogs actually work with individuals that are trained in victim services, and from the moment that the individual that has been unfortunately touched by a crime to the moment they take the stand, the dog can be with them in that process. The dog is there as a comfort to help them through that difficult time in their life. We know that petting a dog makes us feel good, so we want to make sure that individuals that are feeling stressed or are in situations of discomfort have this soft paw, this wonderful warm nose, warm head there in times of distress. Our accredited facility dogs work in so many different environments to help build these strong communities and help people, just not one individual, but lots of different people. The difference between an accredited facility dog and our other service dogs is that these dogs like to work with a group of individuals, not just a single individual. Great pleasure to introduce my colleague Jade. She is an apprentice instructor. She has with her Quinoa, who is training to be a PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, dog. Quinoa is going to show us some of her special skills. Jade is going to show us some behaviors that are somewhat common in individuals that have PTSD, and Quinoa will show these interrupter behaviors in order to bring her out of her state.
Yes, good girl.
Quinoa has used her nose to bump at Jade. Jade was moving her leg.
Yes. Good girl. Yes, good girl. All right, let's move into my lap. Keep on my lap. Good girl.
Our motto is we change lives one dog at a time. Our clients enjoy more independence as well as a increased, a good friend of mine has cerebral palsy and lives her life in a wheelchair, a motorized wheelchair. Because of her PADS dog, she is able to live independently away from her parents and live her life as some of us may take for granted, right? I am able to live on my own because I can do things for myself, whereas having a service dog can help her with her daily tasks so she can live independently. Other service dogs provide a sense of wellness to their client. I've heard from some of our clients that they are able to walk down the aisles of Canadian Tire and feel safe because they have their PTSD service dog with them. Many, many stories. We have multiple impact stories that shares how lives of individuals have been impacted because of these service dogs.
For BCIT The Crows, I'm Adam Wang with my co-producer Ali Fala.
Hara heel.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even.
Good afternoon. I'm Zach Byard, and here are the latest news headlines at 12:30. BC Nurses Union has voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike. The union announced that 98.2% of the 50,000 voters supported job action, the strongest strike mandate in its history. The vote comes after 6 months of unsuccessful bargaining. Union President Adrienne Gear calls it a last chance.
It's already hard enough accessing care in this province. So I want to be clear, taking job action is not what we want to do. We are willing to go back to the table. We have signaled that to the employer. They have also signaled that they're willing to come back to the table. This is the final last chance, however.
The result doesn't mean a strike is imminent, but it does mean nurses are allowed to take job action going forward. The long-awaited Oak Ridge Park Mall is opening in 2 weeks. The 28-acre mall on the southwest corner of Cambie and 49th Ave has been under construction since 2018. It will boast 500,000 square feet of leasable retail space, a rooftop public park, and some of the tallest towers in all of British Columbia. 2,000 free parking stalls will be available. The mall is also served by the Oak Ridge 41st Canada Line station and the R4 Rapid Bus. It is set to open at 11 a.m. on May 28th. Burnaby Hospital's long-awaited Phase 2 expansion is up in the air as the province cancelled its Phase 2 contract. Matthew Wong has more.
The BC government cancelled the construction contract for Burnaby Hospital's Phase 2 development last month, leaving a planned 160-bed tower and cancer care facility in limbo. Fraser Health Senior Consultant of Public Affairs Nick England addressed the setback, saying the project remains a priority.
Government remains committed to this project, as is Fraser Health, and this project will move forward. We're exploring options to support capacity at Burnaby Hospital to help address current pressures and support the people we serve.
But despite the reassurance, no new contractor or timeline has been announced, leaving patients, staff, and families in the dark about when construction will actually resume. For a community that has waited years for this expansion, the wait continues. Matthew Wong, BCIT News.
Phase 1 of the hospital expansion opened in March. Residents in Surrey's Newton neighborhood are feeling the effects of recent gang-related shootings. Our reporter Jana Ali has an update on the shootings.
No related arrests have been made since the shooting Sunday night at an underground parking lot at the 7000 block of 133 B Street. 2 males, 16 and 18, were found at the scene with gunshot wounds. Despite life-saving efforts, both were pronounced dead on scene. Surrey Police Chief Constable Norval Pinsky said in a news release that addressing gun and gang violence in Surrey remains a top priority for SPS. Many people in the area are now left in shock that something like this could happen in such a residential neighborhood. Jana Ali, BCIT News.
The shooting was one of 2 incidents Sunday, with a second shooting taking place at 152nd Street and 72nd Ave. In international news, a new hantavirus case has been reported in a passenger of the MV Hondius cruise ship. The Spanish passenger was in quarantine at a military hospital when they tested positive. This now brings the total reported hantavirus cases to 11. Of the 11 cases, only 9 have been confirmed. The Director General of the World Health Organization says that the disease has not spread beyond passengers and crew of the cruise ship. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a military drone deal between Ukraine and Canada is being prepared. Canadian press reporter Dylan Robertson has more.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says in a social media video that his country could have a significant expansion of security cooperation with Canada through a drone deal. Ukraine is already in talks with 20 countries to work on advanced drone technology that Ukraine has refined since Russia's full-scale invasion 4 years ago. Last August, the Defense Departments for Canada and Ukraine signed a letter of intent to co-produce defense materials. But Canadian officials testified last November that there was little progress in Canadian firms working in Ukraine for drone manufacturing out of safety concerns for their staff and investments. Dylan Robertson, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine began in February of 2022 and is ongoing. And in Burnaby's weather, sun and clouds at 18 degrees, Today's high is 20 and low is 12. And those are your news headlines at 12:30. I'm Zach Byard, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning, BCIT The Crow, the listeners. My name is Dena Tingala, and the time is now 12:40. For the next 5 minutes, I'll be updating you on all things sports. Vancouver-born NBA player Brandon Clark has tragically passed away at the age of 29. Clark was drafted 21st overall in 2019 and played his entire career with the Memphis Grizzlies. He was the longest tenured Grizzly, and in his career, the power forward averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds. He was last seen on court at December 20th against the Washington Wizards and has since then rolled out of the season with a grade 2 right calf strain. In hockey, the Montreal Victoire and Minnesota Frost will try again tonight. The Victoire will host the two-time Walter Cup champions at the Place Bell. The winner-take-all Game 5 was postponed yesterday due to safety concerns related to an unspecified illness on the Montreal side. Health professionals say the symptoms were not consistent with the hantavirus. The Victoire are also looking to dethrone Minnesota's defending title. Playing next door, the other Montreal hockey team, the Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres, go head-to-head tonight for a Game 4. Montreal has won 2 straight in the series, and Arbor Jackeyes is expecting a bigger game from the Sabres.
Obviously a big response. It's tough to win 3 games in a row, and we're gonna definitely get a bit of a different team probably tonight. Obviously expect a little bit of a different game, but they're going to make some adjustments, and obviously so are we. We're all looking to get better and improve and adapt to one another, so we'll expect a little bit of a different game.
And in the first round, you just had 3 chances to go up by 2. What's it going to take this time around to get that?
In the AHL, the Toronto Marlies had their practice today as they prepare for their series against the Cleveland Monsters on May 14th. William Velinov talked to the media today about how good Artur Akitamov has been for the team.
You appreciate about how Artur handled things when the guys were crashing his crease trying to get under his skin in that series?
Yeah, he's cool, calm, collected. I'm super proud of him, and we're really fortunate here in Toronto. Right now it's Hardy that's getting the nod, but if we need Dennis down the line, we're pretty confident that he's going to do the job. And we're just super happy. Hardy is feeling himself right now, so we just got to protect him maybe a little bit more going to Cleveland, but we feel good about him.
The PWHL has announced today that 235 eligible players have declared for the 2026 PWHL draft. Names in this draft class include 4-time Canadian gold medalist Megan Acosta. The talent pool also includes 23 Olympians from 8 countries that competed in the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics. The draft will take place on Wednesday, June 17th in Detroit, Michigan. The Vancouver Golden Eyes hold the first overall draft pick this year, and projected to go first overall is 2026 Women's Hockey Olympic MVP Carolina KK Harvey. The National Lacrosse League announced today that Keegan Ball has been named Offensive Player of the Year. This marks the first time Ball has been honored with this title and the first time in franchise history that a member of the Vancouver Warriors has been awarded this recognition. After being out for 10 days due to illness, Vancouver Whitecaps captain Thomas Mueller is back and is expected to travel with the team to Dallas. The Caps play tomorrow against Dallas at 5:30 p.m. Tiger Woods' prescription drug records will be handed over to prosecutors in Florida's DUI case. A judge has ruled that Tiger Woods' prescription drug records will be handed over following his March arrest in Florida on suspicion of driving under the influence. Prosecutors had issued a subpoena seeking copies of all prescription medication records for the legendary golfer from the start of the year throughout the end of March. Woods' attorney acknowledged during the hearing that the right to privacy is not absolute, and the prosecutors could make a compelling argument for why they were needed. The province of British Columbia is providing $25,000 towards bringing the FIFA World Cup celebrations to Tumbler Ridge. The town will be joining in the FIFA World Cup festivities on June 15, 2026, when Canada Celebrates brings a chance for the community to connect with watch parties, entertainment, and soccer-themed experiences. That's all the sports headlines for me. This has been Dena Tingala for BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane.